of what I'll be sharing with you in our day today is, what do we know about how children learn? What do we know about how children learn to read? What do we know about literacy? And I will tell you, regardless of what I've done in my career, that has been the one thing that has been kind of the through line in my whole career, has been my passion for and my commitment to literacy, ensuring that all of our children learn to read and learn to write. When we talk about the Common Core, these are the areas I want to focus on today. The first is the foundational skills. We'll be talking about those. And again, even if you're not teaching young students, this is really relevant to you, because we all need to understand the process of learning to read, right? We'll be talking about that integration. We'll be talking about text selection, and I brought lots of text with me today that will give you exemplars of what we're to look for in text. And then we'll be talking about close reading and text evidence, and how do we use this text, and how do we question kids to read closely and look for text evidence. One of those students really comes to school reading. Now, depending on your school and the socioeconomics and the parent involvement and the oral language of your students, it might be more or it might be none, right? But in the general human population, it's very rare for kids to really be reading with accuracy, fluency, and comprehension at age 5. About 20 to 30% of our students in the rest of these categories, and only about 5% of us have a true reading disability that will require special ed services. And there's really two areas that I like to dig into. The first is educational research in general, and the second is the neuroscience. I'm very excited about the field of neuroscience, because it opens an incredible window to us about how children acquire reading and acquire writing. Now again, if you teach younger grade students, this is really going to be speaking to you at the place where you instruct kids. If you teach older students, this is really going to hit you at that place of, now I understand why this student might have a gap, or why this student struggles, or what do I need to do to support their continuing growth as readers. Because here's the other thing about reading. Reading takes a long time to really master. These are my little pipe cleaners that represent those strands. And they're all kind of in the same color family, because they're all related, and yet they're all distinct. And what Hollis Scarborough says is, when our kids are little, we're trying to teach them kind of build all of these different strands together. But as they get older, what we want is for all of these to just kind of start to intermingle. You and I, when we make sense of reading, we don't stop and say, okay, I'm going to use my vocabulary here, I'm going to use my language structures here, I'm going to use my reasoning here. It's all this process, right? Now I'm going to give you today at least 3 strategies, activities if you will, that you can take back and use right away in your classrooms, regardless of what grade level you use. So be prepared for that, all right? So number 1, we're going to talk about what do we know about good writing, just like what we talked about, what do we know about reading. We're going to talk about some key points of writing within the Common Core, and we're going to talk about some instructional practices that align Common Core with what we know about good writing. So let's jump right into the Common Core. There's really 3 shifts that we need to just wrap our heads around. And the first is a slight change in terminology. The second is the Common Core Standards does redefine and rename some of the text types that we're asking kids to write. And the third thing is I think there are higher expectations.
Maisa Anna. Great. Miss Hiba Hussain.